It's been over 10 months since former President Donald Trump left office. He is now facing 3 separate investigations in New York, another in Georgia, and one in D.C. At least 4 lawsuits have been filed against him, including one from his niece, Mary Trump. Today, we'll take a look at the latest news as prosecutors attempt to hold Trump accountable. D.C. Attorney General Karl Racine's lawsuit against Trump's inaugural committee took another step towards trial last month, when a Superior Court judge approved of one of the case's major claims. Judge Jose Lopez, a George H. Bush appointee, threw out the AG's allegation that Trump's committee wasted its money by renting ballrooms at Trump's own hotel. Under the law, Lopez wrote, a charge of waste requires a very high burden of proof. Instead, he wrote, Racine needed to show the committee had intentionally thrown its money away. To be waste, in a legal sense, Lopez said the spending needed to be so far beyond the bounds of reasonable business judgment that its only explanation was bad faith. Lopez let stand Racine's claim that Trump's nonprofit committee misused assets for the Trump family's private gain, allowing the case to proceed. The AG has evidence that committee officials, including Ivanka Trump, were warned that the hotel's prices were too high and could be illegal. Within minutes of receiving the Trump hotel's proposal, committee staffers with experience in managing events raised serious concerns about the price. These concerns were eventually shared with Rick Gates, who forwarded the proposal to Ivanka Trump on December 12, 2016 for her review. Gates wrote to Ms. Trump as follows. I wanted to pass along the below information in hopes that you can provide some help. Stephanie's plans for several of our inaugural events incorporates the use of the Trump Hotel ballroom. However, we both have 2 concerns with the email below. First, the cost itself seems quite high compared to other property. Second, I am a bit worried about the optics of the committee paying Trump Hotel a high fee and the media making a big story out of it. Let me know if you have any thoughts and if we can discuss the best path forward. Racine asks the court to force the Trump family to return $1 million so it can be donated to charity. It's a big deal that our lawsuit is moving forward and going to trial. The inaugural committee misspent more than $1 million in nonprofit funds to unlawfully benefit private interests, a spokesperson for the D.C. Attorney General's office said in a statement. We cannot allow those in power to get away with using money to illegally enrich themselves and their families. AG Racine is working to get that money back and make sure it supports a legitimate public purpose. According to the Washington Post, New York prosecutors have found evidence that Trump offered wildly different valuations of the same properties, potentially leading to future fraud and/or tax evasion charges. A property owner may provide a high valuation when trying to obtain loans and a low valuation when trying to minimize tax bills. New York Attorney General Letitia James and Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance found that the Trump Organization valued his Wall Street office building at $527 million in 2012 when seeking loans. Months later, he told property tax officials that it was worth only $16.7 million. Trump valued his California Golf Club at $900,000 at one point and $25 million at another. Trump valued his Seven Springs estate, in New York, at $56 million on certain records and $291 million on others. The New York Times previously reported that the Westchester District Attorney's Office has its own probe into Trump properties. The town of Ossining, New York, valued the former president's golf club at roughly $15 million. The Trump Organization claimed it was worth just $1.4 million at the time. But on federal financial disclosure forms filed as president, Trump placed the club at over $50 million. Real estate appraisers said it was highly unusual for any property owner to give such widely different values for the same property during the same time period. This is way beyond anything that's believable, said Norm Miller, a professor of real estate finance at the University of San Diego who has appraised properties for 50 years. I've never seen anything with a gap that extreme. In order to charge Trump and Trump Organization officials with a crime, prosecutors will need to show that the valuations were intentionally wrong, with the intent to deceive lenders and the government. All of these investigations into Trump's family business require hundreds of hours of expensive legal assistance. How is Trump paying for that? Partly with the Republican Party's massive piggy bank. Despite the fact that none of the conduct under investigation occurred while Trump was president, the Republican National Committee is footing the bill for a lawyer to represent him in the Vance and James probes. As a leader of our party, defending President Trump and his record of achievement is critical to the GOP. It is entirely appropriate for the RNC to continue assisting in fighting back against the Democrats' never-ending witch hunt and attacks on him. Thank you for watching. If this video has been at all helpful or informative, please consider supporting me on Patreon.